For the latest in strategic affairs, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Click the bell icon for updates.
Hello and welcome to StratNewsGlobal. On the gist this evening, we have a special guest, Alok Bansal, a specialist on Pakistan, Afghanistan and all things foreign relations, also with India Foundation. In fact, he is the director of India Foundation, one of the prominent think tanks in India. And this evening we are going to speak about the Supreme Court decision to give a stamp of approval to the government's decision in 2019 to abrogate Article 370 and of course make Jammu and Kashmir into two distinct union territories. Let's discuss with Alok on the gist this evening. Alok, welcome to this program, and on a day when it looks like what was now in retrospect a formality, but the Supreme Court has finally given a stamp of approval to the government's decision and dismissed all the petitions which had challenged the government's decision to abrogate Article 370, which was a historic step in 2019, and of course then given various other decisions related to that. What's your first reaction to it?
See, firstly, it's a historical day, and to say that it is just a mere formality would be wrong. I think it's provided it legal sanctity, it's given it respectability, and it's very, very essential, because when the Supreme Court, the highest court in the land, says that this had to go, it is something permanent. Now no one can tinker it.
But was there a doubt at all that the Supreme Court will tinker with it or object to the government's decision or overturn it?
See, if you see the decision, there is one part of the decision which is interesting. He says you cannot use the part of a article to abrogate the article. So they have found some flaw as far as the process, the way it was done. So that could have been done. But what is important is the Supreme Court has accepted that this was not this was a temporary provision, which we have been saying for a very long time, that this was a temporary provision. Right from the beginning, the government of India has been saying, right from Nehru's time, that this is a temporary provision. So it needed to go. And the letter of accession and all those things were signed also with many other states after 1947 as well. There are so many princely states which acceded to India much after that. Tripura, Manipur, Tehri Garhwal. There are a lot of princely states which people often don't realize acceded to India much later. To that extent, some of our history books need to be rewritten as far as these are concerned. So I think Supreme Court has laid to rest the perception which existed in Jammu and Kashmir that they had a special role because they signed an instrument of accession which no other princely state signed, which was actually flawed. They didn't understand this because they had been fed a false narrative. Now that narrative has been tarnished because of the Supreme Court judgment. And what is more important is that internationally it gains us enormous respect, because now Supreme Court has said that constitutionally and legally what the government did is absolutely correct.
I think that is the bigger fallout and bigger advantage to the government. In fact, the words two words that the Supreme Court used was the asymmetric federalism as far as Jammu Kashmir was concerned, the old Jammu Kashmir was concerned, because that was always a feeling in the rest of India that Jammu and Kashmir was getting undue special treatment from the central government, but that's now all in the past. Talking about international reaction, I think, yes, you're right, in Western capitals, amongst human rights organizations, amongst think tanks, there was a feeling that the BJP had used what they called brute majority. What is a brute parliamentary majority? In my view, they have a majority, that's a instrument that can be used by any political party. But that aside, I think they will have no other way but to accept this because this has been done by the Supreme Court. Would you agree?
Well, you may see internationally some of these organizations may still voice their reservations. Some of them are made up in such a way that they have to criticize some steps of the government. But vast majority of the people and vast majority of the foreign administrations would accept what the Supreme Court has said. And what is important is that Supreme Court has said very categorically that statehood needs to be restored.
Right.
And that they have said very clearly that the government has assured them that they want to restore statehood. Also, what is important is now you have a date
For
the
elections.
election.
Yeah.
See, it's very important. All said and done, everything set aside, elections is a must.
Because political representation from the people must be always there in
In
any
fact,
administration.
undoubtedly you needed a political representation. The state must have at least similar autonomy as other states have.
Right.
So that part, from dissimilar federalism to a different level of dissimilar federalism we had gravitated, I think we need to bring
Restore
it
the balance there.
Restore the
That's
balance.
true. Let's come to Pakistan, your area of study for a long time. Although you are better known in think tank circles as a Balochistan scholar, but let's take Pakistan's reaction to it. I mean, Pakistan, of course, if you look at what happened in the past 4 years after 2019, tried its best to rake up the issue internationally, didn't get much of a response or traction. But now, how would Pakistan react to this? Because there was a faint hope in some sections of Pakistan that at least the Supreme Court will not side with the government of India. What do you think?
See, there is no doubt that as far as the Pakistan's ruling establishment is concerned, and Pakistan, as you know, is generally ruled from Rawalpindi rather than from Islamabad.
Sure.
And at this moment, you have a government which is actually controlled from Rawalpindi. That so-called caretaker government, which has exceeded its mandate and
Sure.
is continuing indefinitely at this point of time.
Right.
They obviously are controlled from Rawalpindi, and they have been trying to say that till the time this normalcy is restored, there be no talks. Now, this puts them in a very, very delicate situation, because Nawaz Sharif, who's slated to be the next Prime Minister, has already said that he wants to talk to India. And he realizes that the only way Pakistan can be salvaged, if at all it can be, is by having normal relations with India. That he had realized earlier, but the establishment that doesn't want it has always pulled the rug from under his feet. So I think now that we are going for elections, Pakistan is going for elections, and these elections are going to be interesting, because I don't think so a level playing field is going to be provided to all the political parties. So the results, the way it come, will have an impact, because now Pakistan will have to negotiate with India, despite what their avowed demand has been, that restoration of 5th August 2019 status, which will not happen.
Right.
So now they really don't have an option. And I can tell you, I think the fig leaf that they'll get is, after September 2024, when there will be an elected government in Jammu and Kashmir, they will say now the people's representative have come up, and I think that's where. So I think they are hoping for that sort of a scenario. That's what I feel.
But I'll come to that. But I like the term that he used, that Nawaz Sharif is going to be slated to be the Prime Minister. You've already declared the results in Pakistan, but that's okay. We know how it works.
In Pakistan, there's always a selected Prime Minister rather than an elected Prime Minister, and the selected Prime Minister is known to everyone.
I get that, but Nawaz Sharif, amongst all the recent political leaders in Pakistan, has always favoured dialogue with India. Twice he tried, as you mentioned, and the Pakistani army obviously didn't want it. So twice it was sabotaged. But what will change? And I want your take on this. That you mentioned that when elections are held in Jammu and Kashmir before September 2024, which will mean complete integration of either that union territory or state, whatever that status be, into the Indian establishment. Now, having done that, then the entire Pakistani argument about a dispute in Kashmir then goes out of the window, or it doesn't.
It should have gone back out of the window long back.
It should have, but hasn't.
But it hasn't. And I don't think so it will.
Yeah.
Because please understand, Pakistan has to justify its existence. We need to understand.
Or the Pakistani army.
No, firstly, Pakistan is an edifice which is built on a flawed foundation.
Okay.
When you say the Muslims of the subcontinent are a separate nation, there is a problem.
Of course.
See, and that problem exists. Now, Pakistan has always found it difficult to justify its existence, and consequently from class 3 onwards they have a Pakistan studies program,
Yes.
which tries to justify to a young juvenile mind as to why Pakistan was needed, because logically there was no need for it.
True.
So they try to do that. Now, having done that, the religion being the basis, Kashmir becomes an integral part.
Yes.
So they have to do that. Now, Pakistan army, to have its primacy in the society, has to show to the Pakistani populace that there is an existential fear that exists and there is an existential threat that emanates from India.
Sure.
So they are the sole guardians. So that threat allows them to become the prima donna in Pakistani society, and they are the ones who are the defenders of Pakistan.
Absolutely.
So that is how it is. So to my mind, the establishment in Rawalpindi will not let it go. Political parties, I have no doubts that not only Nawaz Sharif, even PPP wants good relations with India. Unfortunately, none of these two major political parties have ever had a free hand as far as discussions with India are concerned. And I don't think so they are going to have it in future. Unless, of course, Nawaz Sharif can manage to do something which he has been trying for some time, to bring the army under his firm control. And every time he's ended up in dungeons trying to do that.
Absolutely. No, I think, but Pakistani army surely is much more weakened than before from last time when Nawaz was in power. But that's something that's domestic politics to Pakistan. We spoke about Western or the international reaction. We spoke about Pakistan. What about China? Because what happened in Ladakh in 2020 was attributed by many people, which I disagree with, but nevertheless, that because Ladakh was made into a union territory, and I think the Home Minister spoke about taking back Aksai Chin, China was aggressive on the LAC, and with Pakistan, it will try and create problems for India along entire JNK and Ladakh. Will this fundamentally alter the Chinese position or Chinese approach to India?
I don't think so. In fact, I disagree completely with this assertion that 2020 had anything to do with Jammu Kashmir.
So we are on the same page there.
There is no doubt about it. In fact, I don't even have an iota of doubt.
True.
And let me be very clear. In any conflict between India and Pakistan, China
Will stay.
at the most indulge in verbal aggression.
Right. Like they have done before.
Like they have
Twice.
But God forbids, if you have a conflict with China, Pakistan will enter the conflict immediately.
Right.
And this we should be cognizant of and accordingly plan.
True.
We need to plan accordingly, and that is what is important. I don't think so China will react to this particular thing. China, as a matter of policy also, in these issues wants to avoid, because there are so many chinks in their armor. As if they start looking at other countries' internal dynamics, they have so many things to answer.
In their own internal politics and dynamics, that's true. But I must say that one of our this morning's trend that has been noticed by one of our researchers is out on Weibo and on the Chinese media. They're already talking about in the future, Pakistan and China will get together to try and create problems for India over the issue of Kashmir. But that aside, that's only probably just one indication of some sentiment there. Final question really on this entire issue. Legally, constitutionally, it is a settled issue now. How does India go about trying to integrate the state of, the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir as it exists today and Ladakh into, I won't call it mainstream, because I have lived in Northeast long enough to know that that's a tricky minefield to negotiate, but into the other parts of the country, and how do you treat it as a normal administrative unit with the people? How do you change their mindsets? How do you get them to work with the rest of India?
See, we need to understand that both Srinagar and Jammu are bursting at the seams. And more significantly, I feel Jammu city has emerged as a very, very powerful political lobby. And consequently, anything and everything that's been granted to the Jammu region has gone to Jammu city. Ideally, IIM, IIT, the central university should have been north of Jammu. We need institutions between Udhampur and Ramban. We need institutions in Kishtwar and Bhadarwa. We need institutions in Punch, Rajouri, not in Jammu city. And I think similarly in Kashmir Valley, we need institutions to move away from Srinagar to different parts. They need to go to Baramulla, they probably need to go to Kupwara, they need to go to Uri, all these places. And see, We have a phenomenal place called Gorez where the Shina speaking people live in such vast numbers, and in 2021 it was I think ranked as the #1 offbeat tourist destination of India.
Sure.
And those are the places where we need to have, and we need to have institutions of national eminence which need to be set up, so that people from rest of India also go there. Like Kashmiris are going to all over the India, but rest of the people don't go, and as a result they form perceptions about the place which may be out of touch with reality.
Absolutely.
So when people start going, they'll see what is happening there, and they go see there. Similarly, you need to have special economic zones. That's another thing which we need to set up, because if you don't have special economic zone, the type of investment that we are looking, especially from private sector, will not come, and if it comes, it will come close to Jammu, in and around Jammu, which doesn't serve. And similar things are also needed in Ladakh.
Right.
Since your program is only with Jammu and Kashmir, I will restrict myself, but in Ladakh also there is a huge need for setting up new townships, setting up a few cantonments, which I understand Ministry of Defence is doing away with, which will be a counterproductive thing to my mind. But we need to have at least 2 cantonments in Ladakh, at least Leh and Nyoma, maybe at Kargil also if they feel so. But these are required things and essential requirements for a greater integration of these 2 union territories.
No, I think you've said it right, because I've watched this something similar in Northeast, where people were isolated in their minds as well as physically. But that has changed over the years, in the past 25 years or so. Hopefully, Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh will also go that way, and more assimilation, more exchange of people, goods, ideas, everything will happen between Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh with rest of India. But on a day when this historic decision has been now ratified, if I may say so, legally and constitutionally, I think this is important to have this conversation. So thank you very much for your insights and your thoughts. Do keep watching StratNewsGlobal. We always bring you interesting guests like Alok Bansal. And of course, keep sending your feedback and comments. They're always welcome. You know where to reach us through our social media handles. They're visible on the screen. And do keep watching StratNewsGlobal. For the time being, it's goodbye.